All right, greetings again. This is part two of the week 9 discussion post feedback, addressing of your comments, as well as wanting to kind of not only point out the things that you pointed out, but to obviously compliment you on the types of discussions that you had, your personal interpretations and assessments of the class, as far as technical writing is concerned, and mentioning the projects as well as some of your questions. So let's get right into it. So this is a two-part series. It's 2 classes, so I made a series of notes for each one. I thought I'd share them with all of the class because I thought it was kind of interesting. So thank you for watching. Good to see you again. Okay, here's some quotes here. I picked up on how critical it is to use correct fonts, sans serif versus serif, because it allows readers to ease through your document. Additionally, actively using the white space in a document. Yes, we're continuing to draw from Kramer and Bernhardt, as well as the combination of Markel and some of the other texts that we've read this semester, put these things together, and how that the sans serif versus the serif font really allow readers to ease through your document. Plus, it puts you in kind of in control, right, which we've talked about. I agree that many academic assignments we've had have strengthened our ability to research and reason, yet to have assignments that we utilize directly in our everyday lives. And I guess, we might be able to say that, right, once you're done, once you get a job, right, your resume, your cover letter, maybe not, but perhaps in your everyday lives, think about all the technical communication that you might, as I mentioned in the previous video, even from text to email responses and replies, to posting on Facebook, to posting on Twitter, to any type of active document in which you are trying to transmit information. Most of these skills will apply. And as I mentioned in the previous video, one of your fellow students had talked about and had mentioned the listening aspect, right? That has a lot to do with technical communication. How you respond is listening to what others are trying to say, and then culling through that information and picking out the relevant points, and then using that for communication. So, and I think there's another student down here who's going to talk about communications in general, right? So that might be how it applies in your everyday life. So that might be how you might think about utilizing it directly. You can say anything that you're going to write or anything that you're going to communicate, even when you're talking about a visual presentation, or think about that which you are designing or putting together, right? Anything that's going to transmit information, it's got some writing on it, or is designed, right? Even a graphic is a technical communication. Media is all technical communication, etc., etc. So perhaps think about that in the larger picture. We're going to talk about some more of those things in the coming weeks. Love the critical thinking about that. Good job. Markel's continuous reminder, planning, drafting, revising, editing, and proofreading are necessary steps in the writing process. Helps me to recognize the importance of persistence as a key to successful writing. Yes. Writing is not a one and done, and that is one of the keys to kind of understanding the thing about writing is that as much as we like to, as much as you may, I don't sit here and when I answer your emails or when I'm putting something together for you, I plan out what I'm going to try to get across, and I draft something, and then I'll revise it a few times, and I edit, and the last thing I do is proofread to make sure it's ready to go, so to speak. So yeah, it is a continual process, and excellent for pointing that out. That's wonderful. In addition, I learned how to use appropriate level of formality and to be more careful when I'm replying back to my coworkers, right? The listening aspect that Markel talks about, emails at work, or to my classmates' discussion posts. Yes, excellent. Those are great points, because to successfully get your point across, especially if you're replying or responding to somebody, think about your level of formality, think about your tone, think about your style, in culmination with how you're presenting the document, thinking of that document as an image, so to speak. Technical communication requires you to consider your audience, how they would be reading your work. Yes, so many posts. I was really happy to see a lot of those posts about audience and purpose. Markel's textbook improved my papers as well as my writing. One thing that I know for sure is I learned how to better address my audience and better present my purpose. Yes, I love these. I think the most important concept in this class teaches considering your audience. Interpret, react, right? What is written or explained. So now we're really seeing what Markel was talking about, right? When he talked about the 4 aspects, the 4 key things we need to know, right? Speaking, listening, right? Make sure we're listening. Good job. I really feel strongly about using this type of communication within every expression of writing, video, instruction, research paper, etc. I feel as the class name should be renamed Communications because it should be the foundation and cornerstone of language. I would agree with you. I would agree. Although Markel covers a ton of information, I think he gives us the start, middle, but not the end. I like this. It's kind of interesting insight too. The end is something I believe we have to develop, right? We develop and grow over the years as a professional technical communicator. You cannot say that Markel or this course is going to help us become better professionals, but it is up to us to actually build on the things we are learning, like every class. I use all the techniques that I learned in my everyday life now because it makes me feel so much better about communication. Excellent. Yes. Yeah, it's like we set you on the path, right? And then you basically take some of these basic concepts, right, to continue to grow and become a better professional. And the reading, interestingly, what's interesting about this comment and even the one before it, talking about communication as a cornerstone of language, we're going to talk about this reading this week. Hens does a really, really good job of having us think about, we've got these basic concepts, these basic ideas, and how do we then go apply it, right? Sometimes these genres, so I'm teaching you how to write the memo, I'm teaching you how to write a report, some of the basic ideas, concepts, and those basic concepts will apply, but some of the particulars may change, right, depending on where you end up, like your place of business, the work, wherever you are is what I'm trying to say. We'll talk more about that, but excellent insight. Well done. How do we further incorporate technical communication? Here's some of the questions with our own realms of study. Well, I think looking at any document that you produce as a technical document, for one, and how you're conveying that information, I would say that it even applies to essay. I think with an essay you could use and incorporate, because we're finding that more and more and more in our field anyway. And you probably see that too in yours, right? If you're reading particular academic articles, right, or different articles, you'll see more and more use of subheadings, more and more use of bullet points, even incorporating some graphics and things of that nature to help take the so it's not the alphabetic isn't preferred, is what I'm trying to say. So you bring in a lot of other things, and even thinking about your overall technical document as an image, I think is very, very helpful. Do you think every online class should incorporate technical communications in the coursework, since there is no face-to-face interaction in regular classes? And this is a really interesting reply. I've taken an online chemistry class before. All that was required was a quiz, I had to take every week, and then an online midterm. There was no discussion posts, any type of communication from students to the advisors or peers. However, I do not think that is such a bad thing. Chemistry classes need discussion posts, even if it's an online class. Should certain classes be excluded with regards to your question? Sometimes traditional classes do not come with discussions, so should online ones have too? Well, that's a really good question. That's always the challenge as an instructor is, right, how do we help students the most really engage with the material, which we have a question coming up thinking about this class, right? Discussion post, making you engage not only with each other but with the material, I think helps us grow, helps you have a better understanding of what it is that you're reading and how other people, your fellow classmates, are taking up the material and asking questions about it and using it and the things that are standing out to them. That helps foster learning. We call this active learning in the field of education and even in the field of technical communications and rhetoric and composition, if you will, my overall umbrella field that I'm in. What helps students engage with the material the most? So maybe in a chemistry class, and I know that they're doing this a lot more at university, this is called transformative learning, and where you presented more with problems to solve and things to discuss about the material as opposed to just answer questions. So maybe there's an aspect of that would be beneficial, right? So good question, right? I really like the pondering of that. That's really good. Should technical communication be a required course, regardless of major? I would argue yes. But I think we can see that we're using a lot of that, right? Here's how can other media groups benefit from technical communication, because you think about what it is that you're presenting, the image, how will it be interpreted, how will it be received, right? And you might be sitting here thinking, oh, you're just talking, I think you're talking about marketing. Well, in a way I am, right? How do people, there's a lot in marketing, right? It's a business field, so to speak, or in advertising. You have to think about how you're presenting that material, right? If we think about our definition, right, from Markel, what is technical communication, right? So I think that would be important, extremely important. Technical communication encompasses a set of activities that people do to discover, shape, and transmit information. Discover, shape, and transmit. And I would say that anytime we communicate, we're shaping, right, that which we are trying to transmit. We've either discovered something or we're interpreting some information. We're now transmitting it. Technical communication. What do you think should be taught more in a technical communications class? I don't know. There's so much. I feel like there's so much we're not getting to do, right? Some of that media aspects, perhaps, right? And thinking about how we transmit information. But it's hard to argue with the with instructions. It's really hard to argue with the resume and the cover letter, because I know, as most of you have seen and as you've seen in the previous video, that you can learn to kind of do your resume and put your cover letter together in a different way, help you stand out. And that basic technical communication skill is something you can kind of continue to carry with you over and over and over again. So we'll ponder that one some more. That one's really, really good. Technical communication is something everyone can partake in. Therefore, should a technical communication class be mandatory for all college students? I think we've beat that one to death, but I love the thinking about it. All right, we've all been learning the same way, so I have to know if the workload in this course is too heavy, or what could be changed to help lighten the load. I'm on the fence with my question, because if the workload in this course was less, would I have allocated a reasonable amount of time to the course to actually help me learn as much as I did now? Answer to this, a couple of answers here I want to talk about real quick. I'm all for less workload. However, your counterpoint has me thinking, is it really that bad? Could it be worse? Considering this is an online class, the time it takes to read the chapters, watch the videos, and write my prompt takes less time than one of the classes I'm currently taking. I'm assuming that means a face-to-face. Although that can be draining at times, I prefer classes with this amount of workload, mainly because these small assignments help boost your grade. So I think it could be worse, and it does help. Another answer, I completely agree with what you have to say about the course. I also do think the amount of work we put in the assignments directly correlates with our improvement. The more time I spend learning about and creating technical documents, the greater my communication skills become. Therefore, no, if the workload in this course was less, you would not have made as much progress. All the assignments, even posting on the discussion board each week, allows us to cultivate our communication skills and prepares us for the future. All right, guys. Well, I want to address that, and these are more here. Should be available at high school. We talked about that a little bit. Kind of fonts are appropriate to set myself apart. All right, I'm going to put myself back in the middle. I want to talk about the workload of this class real quick. All right, guys. Yeah, welcome to my world, right? It's always that balance of how much is too much, or what is the right kind of stuff that I want you to be doing to engage with the material, right? And achieve a certain level of understanding, and then be able to demonstrate that back. And so just practicing it over every single week well, I think the answer is there. Said it really, really well. Said it best, that is kind of making you engage with that material in different ways, right? From the annotated bibliography to the weekly discussion posts, right? And from what we've seen, what we understand, and how we've tested this in different ways, and getting students feedback and things of that nature, and how much time that we kind of expect students to spend in the class. I think it's a fairly good balance in which you are presented with opportunities to engage with the material, respond to it, right? Say the things that you want to say about it, as well as get the projects completed as well. And I hope that you're feeling those similar benefits, because that's the whole idea. So, fonts. I think to stick with some of the basics as far as that's concerned. I haven't read anything recently that makes me think that the Helvetica Bold, the sans serif font for headings, and then a Times New Roman font. I know that there are some, but you're going to go to another place, and they may want you to work in a particular font because that's their font of choice, and so you'll have to adapt to that. You'll read a little bit about genre adaptability this week, and so I think generally Times New Roman is probably the standard. It's not a bad one to fall back on, 12-point. And then any of your headings, a sans serif font, perhaps a Helvetica Bold. I think that those have been tested several times, even from when Kramer and Bernhardt wrote that article. So keep those things in mind. I hope those answer some of your questions. Excellent. I really enjoyed reading all these this week. So I'll be back with you to talk about week 10 shortly. Thank you again for watching. You guys are awesome. You rock. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Bye.